I am going to do a video about how did we find ourselves in this format. There's a couple factors that I would like to talk about in that video. So if you guys want to see that extension video, get some likes on this. That way I have some inspiration to want to upload it and film it in general. Always makes me a little bit happy people are on the same page with the ideas that I want to do. So let's dig on into part 2 of that fantastic November metagame discussion that you've all so diligently been interested in. Alright, Pasadena is quickly coming up. I wanted to talk about some of the things we've kind of been seeing going around in the community right now, whether or not it's been lately interesting or not so interesting, and kind of talk about more of the progression of that. So the first one I want to talk about here is Spyral. We saw Sam actually come up, what was it, some one-card FTK kind of was making its way around. And we had an Exchange Six Samurai deck on his channel as well. And it was worth noting because there is... a regional top is a regional top, and with regional tops kind of come concepts that are worth exploring. Spyral's taken a back seat for this format for the longest time right now. I can't tell you the last time it's been like a solid month and a half, I think, since we've seen a Spyral top 8 kind of come out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, here we are once again, sitting on the impasse of another Spyral deck list. So, with Pasadena coming up literally days away from now, I think it is important to kind of take note that, hey, this concept did relatively well. The idea of exchange is gimmicky. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is what it is. And also having a Soul Day built into Spyrals is kind of cute. I can't say that we had seen this. I'm sure Faisal was testing out the concept of a crazier Spyral deck. But for the most part, like, it just seems like an inconsistent nightmare for the most part. So, Spyrals are alive. They're relatively doing well. I don't think they're on the top of the food chain, but if you're going into an event, I'd be aware that combo Spyrals are still a deck sitting at the dinner table, and they might be something that you want to consider just knowing how to play against. Just my 2 cents for that. I'd rather be caught in a situation where I'm knowledgeable about something so I know what's going on in a matchup, as opposed to not. Because if you know what your opponent's trying to do, then you'll be better off. Next one over here was an interesting one, and it's Magical Musketeer. Now, there was an indie deck list that came across on +3 TCG's channel, and it was an interesting concept. Guy was trying to use Magical Musketeers as a way to kind of lock our friend Thunder Dragons out of the game. Now, Thunder Dragon's representation is kind of all over the place at the moment. Like, everybody's on the Goki train, the remainder of the Sky Striker train. Like, everyone's trying all of these crazy decks, and you've got the higher representation right now for the FTK. But if you're going into an event and your deck is specifically designed to counter one of the many decks in the metagame, you're bound to have some sort of success. Now, the list ended up finishing X3, and I'm probably just chalking this up, but this is another really cool idea. And especially with the Magical Musketeer Link monster getting revealed now, just gives more inspiration for people to kind of want to make sure that they have it picked up. And this one goes out to all the local players out there. If you take anything from this video, take the initial concept, go on +3's channel, look at the Magical Musketeer deck, and explore it. Mess around with it. If you got a high Thunder Dragon representation, any win that you can get over a Thunder Dragon duelist while playing that deck and trying out the cool concepts with it, you've already done your job. And that's something that I think a lot of people need to appreciate and understand is no matter anything that you can do to take a win away from somebody, no, that's not bull sharking or anything like that. In the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, if you can make a card interaction or card choice that can win you a game or even a strategy, then your deck did what it needed to do. Now, it's a different story to be successful, but it was a cool concept seeing Magical Musketeers do something, and I gotta give that up. So, I'm not gonna say be aware of them for the big event, but something on the lower spectrum for people out there. Now, next one worth talking about is True Draco. Now, we've seen True Draco also take this enormous backseat this format. I don't know, when you can't resolve search functionality. underneath Thunder Dragons, and you've also got a deck that's producing relatively big boards, you're going to run into some situations. I think it's kind of the thing that we've kind of seen a lot of issues when big decks exist. When these decks can create these relatively large beat sticks, other decks, slower decks like True Draco, they can't compete, and it's kind of strange. Who knew that producing large monsters would be such an inconvenience? Now, if Masterpiece was back, it'd be a different story, but there's been a little bit of success with True Draco players. I have seen one come across in top last week from Omaha in Nebraska. I mean, it's Nebraska. But for the most part, every subtle win that True Draco gets just means that people are tweaking the formula, trying to get it down. True Draco is one of the most defined formula-based decks out there, because those tech choices that you're making, Monarchs are up, no Monarchs are up, your Floodgate choices, plus the matchups that you run into, a lot of hard decision-making that you have to make going into the deck building. It seems much easier than I'm making it out to be, trust me. But for the most part, those little tech choices are going to make or break your day. Like, let's call it what it is. And honestly, I think True Draco is more in the deck building than the actual application of playing the deck. You just kind of set your hand, card into mind is like, it's self-explanatory. But for the most part, making those right metagame decisions right now are what is going to be leading True Draco to be successful. If not, no success at all. Now, the next one is our boy Burning Abyss. Now, going second OTK decks are really hip and cool right now, actually. It's almost like Thunder Dragons can do it themselves. A deck that can shut out a board and OTK your opponent wouldn't be bad for the game. Oh yeah, Blackluster Soldier called. Well, it's the same concept that BA was trying to do from the European version. Even so much now with Thunder Dragons. Both of them are doing kind of the same concept. It's just how you get to the combo pieces are a little bit different. And at least, in the grand scheme of things, BA is a lot... Oh no, they play Tsuchinoko. I lied. Both decks have a relatively decent price point. I mean, you're going to need Tsuchinoko to make BA. BA is just a very good, consistent deck all the way around. Like, no matter what happens, like if you're going into like full OTK mode or you're just going Dante, producing monsters, and trying to ride the consistency train while putting all the pieces into place, that's Burning Abyss for you in a nutshell. And I definitely like that about BA. Just kind of in general, the way that like the deck is constructed and things like that, the card interactions and card choices that players need to make while playing the deck. I would say the deck has a very high ceiling just in terms of like your skill level. Once again, that deck building progress or process really sets a good BA player apart from the rest. Ratios and things like that are going to probably make or break the experience for the BA player. So I got to give it up for the most part. I like what BA is trying to do in the format, and it's good to see that the deck is still kicking, even in the year 2018. Now, the last point I want to do here is I want to go back and revisit a theory here. I was talking about Mech Knights in the previous video and how I felt that they were starting to get power crept. A lot of people took that as, oh, they're totally power crept. No, not at all. And I also want to loop True Draco into this equation as well. When a deck starts to see less play in a format, that means that the deck is suffering from what I like to call a little bit of power creep. All right? A deck's best matchups are what it's there to play against. If a deck like Thunder Dragons comes in and goes, knock knock motherfucker, I'm here, alright? And that deck shits on our friend Mech Knights, that's what we call power creep. Now, people will continue to play the deck because there's a little thing called variance. We have enough players in this game that one Mech Knight player will eventually play enough of his decent matchups and have a good enough day that he will have success. That is how that works. Now, a deck like Mech Knight isn't going to totally disappear from the format. But what I'm saying is, people representation, we have more decks ever now that people can choose from. So, which means one or two Mech Knight players jumping ship, going on over to something else for the time being. The strategy is still very good, but the time and age of the engine are starting to show, and that's the point I originally wanted to make. The deck's design is starting to show. Like, the way that the card interactions go, the way that they choose to play out, yeah. They need to give them more, and we might get somewhere. More support is always welcome for Mech Knights, but let's be real. Column-based decks, the way that Mech Knights were designed, for a slower format, oh, hell yeah, they were good. But for the Fast and the Furious that is today's format, their age is showing a little bit. That doesn't mean that they're totally dead, but they're starting the decline process right now. So it's kind of like mermills. They're still there. Every 100 years they'll show up. But outside of that, yeah. So if you guys want that other discussion about how we got to this point in Yu-Gi-Oh, why the current format is so bad, and what decisions we need to make to kind of fix them, please like this video, comment on this, and I will try to get that up ASAP for you guys. Alright guys, peace out. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a Truffle Shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vanquil40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.